Welcome back to our 88th episode of the Launch Your Farm Show, where I interview Chelsea Peitz, who's an awesome real estate social media coach and trainer. In this episode, Chelsea and I talk about why digital relationships are just as important as real relationships, since most people are communicating in a digital way since COVID. Chelsea also shares how you can scale your human connectivity through technology that's totally free and in just minutes a day. We also talk about what type of content gets the best results and how you can create the right type of content for your farm. Chelsea also shares a super easy way to get your message out to people so they can connect with you even if you aren't present. And we talk about how to create relevant real estate content that actually connects with your audience and how to use it to stand out from your competition. Plus, we talk about a ton of other ideas that you can use to grow your geographic farm. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, and enjoy the episode with Chelsea. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Your Farm Show. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and today we've got a great guest. It's Chelsea Peitz. She's a social media coach and trainer. So Chelsea, take a second, tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yes, I am a real estate social media strategist and consultant and coach, speaker, podcaster, author, mom, dog rescuer. And I've been in the industry going on about 22 years. And that was well before social media was even invented. So I did earn my living for many, many years as a full-time real estate agent. And I sort of wish we had social media back then. In the last, 7 or 8 years have mainly been focused on helping to get real estate professionals unstuck from their social media overwhelm and how to create content that positions them as a powerful personal brand, attracting ideal clients without sales tactics, and also being more human through technology.
And that is an important part and where a lot of agents struggle. And obviously that's why you're doing what you're doing, because I find that a lot of agents know they should be using social media or want to use social media, but have that struggle from being themselves to converting that into online and having that come through on the other side. And that's what you do well. So just quickly give us your backstory of how long you've been in this, but what made you get into the coaching and training side of things?
Never something that I planned on purpose. Also similar to never planned on being a real estate professional on purpose. I just sort of ended up accidentally in it, as many things happen in life. And I started teaching, and I started teaching one person, and then two, and then three, and then 20, and then 30. And then I thought, well, I wonder if the demand is there. And I just kind of put it out to the universe, and the demand was there. And so I discovered that I have an intense passion for teaching. And I did not know that that was sort of what I was born to do. I guess in my DNA is some kind of teaching, empowering, equipping, helping, coaching. And when I started teaching social media strategies, I didn't realize it at the time, but the way that my brain works is that I need to break things down in a very specific way. And I also need to be able to analogize things that I don't really understand yet with things that I already know. And so that was just my particular style of teaching and learning myself. I had no idea that other people would resonate with that style.
Yeah. And it's important to find, like you said, find the people who are going to connect with you and appreciate what you're doing. And there are a lot of agents who do struggle connecting those dots and who have a hard time breaking it down. They maybe have a big picture view of it, and then they don't know really what to do. And that's important to stop and break it down. Because if you don't, you can get caught in, I've got some awesome ideas, but how do I actually go out and execute on it? So I want to dive into some of the strategies that you teach and some of the things you see that are important for agents. So why do you think social media is important for agents in their business?
Well, I think that anybody who might have been on the fence about the idea of presenting yourself as a human being and creating meaningful relationships in a digital space, I no longer say the phrase in real life because every time I poll an audience when I'm live in front of them and I say, how many of you are human? 100% of the hands raise up. And then my next question is, how many of you since 2020 have used a device like Zoom, FaceTime, or whatever else it may be to see a family member that you weren't able to see during the pandemic? Yeah. And every single person raised their hand.
Yeah.
So what happened is that the mindset shifted in a way that when we were forced to be in this digital world, that we started realizing when I say I love you to my family member, regardless if it's in a screen or not, it doesn't mean that it's any less real.
Yep.
And so the mindset kind of started to shift, which I already had this mindset prior to, and it was harder for me to teach this. And so while we were forced into this digital world, and believe me, there are negatives to social media, just like there are negatives to anything that you could say. There's always pluses and minuses. What I wish I would have had 22 years ago when I got my real estate license was, gosh, I had to have your phone number and you had to answer it. Imagine that. And I had to know where your office was or your house was. And I had to pay to mail you something and hope that you opened it and didn't throw it in the trash within less than a second. Also, I had to email you and you had to actually open your email. So now with social media, we don't need any of that information to connect as a human being with someone. I'm not suggesting that you send sales messages or copy paste DMs to social media. It is not a numbers game. There is a real human being on the other side of that screen. And so the idea of being able to scale your human connectivity through technology that's totally free in minutes a day or even seconds a day, and also scale your message with you in it. I have people that are watching my videos right now while I am recording this podcast. And those people are connecting with me eye to eye. Yep. They're looking at the screen and consuming me and connecting with me and my message, and I'm not even there. So the idea that we could reach one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, incredible. It's truly incredible to me. And I think that people are now starting to understand, oh, wait a minute. We can have digital human relationships. Digital is different than physical, but human is professional. And you can be a human being through technology. And oftentimes you're going to be forced to be, because we're never going back. We are never going back to no Zoom and no FaceTime and no video. We're just not going back.
And a lot of people prefer it nowadays too. There are people who would rather do that rather than, like you said, drive to your office, meet you in person. Some people would rather, from a time perspective, and it actually benefits them too. So I know a big part of what you teach and talk about is being authentic. Why do you think agents have a hard time being authentic through social media? And where do you think that disconnect is?
Oh my gosh. So my background before I got into real estate, I was going to be a therapist. And so my degree is in clinical psychology. So I am fascinated by human beings and product psychology and how we connect in our brains and all of the things. So I'm always kind of looking at it through this scientific lens. There's so much psychology around these concepts of limiting beliefs, fears, limiting beliefs, and it's innate to us because as human beings, you've probably seen like Maslow's hierarchy, that pyramid that everybody got shown in high school and college. And essentially it says, hey, if you want to survive, not just survive, but you want to thrive. You don't want to just have food and shelter, but you want to thrive and grow as a human being. You need to belong. You need to be loved. Yeah. And that's why I love social media, is because I can connect with people in a community. And it's also why it's terrifying to put yourself out on video. What if someone doesn't love me? What if someone leaves me a mean comment? What if someone thinks I have no idea what I'm talking about? And so we get into these limiting beliefs around, oh my gosh, I can't stand the sound of my voice, right? I don't like how I look. I really want to lose a little bit of weight first. I need to get the right camera. I want the right lighting. And so these limiting beliefs, these stories that we tell ourselves, what's very interesting is that when we put the digital things that we're seeing, things that we're doing in a digital world, in a physical space, it becomes laughable. Here's an example. If you were to invite me to your office and we were having a meeting in wherever your office may be, it could be in a Starbucks, it could be in a regular, WeWork or something like that. And I sat down at the table, and then as soon as I sat down, you dove under the desk and started talking to me from under the desk. I certainly would think that was unusual. It would leave an impression. Now imagine if you turned your chair around and looked like you were ignoring me. That's what it's like when you're not showing up and you have this fear that I don't like how I look on camera. Well, let me tell you, the most human way to communicate, we have to see each other. That is how we build trust. That is how our brain understands and develops relationships. And we have to see that. That's why our brains love seeing other people's faces on screen and really don't like seeing ours. So it's a lot of those things when you kind of put it into that different perspective. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that in the physical world. Yeah. We can't say real world because this is
yeah.
But we're doing things in a digital space that we would not do in a physical one. And that's why social media is frustrating. And that's why it's scary. And that's why, you're saying it's not working. So yes, being human is professional. Now, this is one of the limiting beliefs. People say, I'm a private person. I'm not going to be an oversharer. I don't care what somebody had for lunch. I'm certainly not going to show mine. Or, TikTok, I'm a professional and I don't really think that's very professional. I like to keep business over here and personal over here. Okay, let me ask, and everybody hopefully listening, I want you to answer, even though we're not gonna be able to hear you, I want you to answer. If I said, Ryan, what are some qualities that you really value in someone that you want to work with or be mentored by? You would say honesty. You would say compassion, empathy, all those things, right? Yep. Those are uniquely human, everyone. How will I connect with you on an empathetic level? How will I build trust if all I am experiencing on your social media is a beautiful stock photo Canva template with a logo?
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
That's not how our brains work.
Exactly.
So the science of it is saying, hey, whether you like it or not and you're uncomfortable with it, we've got to see you, because if I don't see you, I'm moving on to someone else I do see. And, that word professional is becoming my least favorite word because it's, quote unquote. And, this idea of we can't be a human and be professional at the same time, that I have to show up as a specific persona of, what I think I need to be. And this is the thing that's keeping people from making video content too, because if you think about it, one of the things that happens is we get that camera on and we're like, okay, I have to show up and deliver and, speak in this manner. And then you watch it back, or even worse, your friends watch it and they're like, who is this?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you don't feel like it's you.
Yeah.
And then you have a bad experience and then you're discouraged and you're like, oh, that was awful. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to pull out your phone and be, quote, authentic right away. You have to practice, right? You have to get comfortable with it. Yeah. And I think one of the best ways to do that is start sending little video messages one-to-one to people that you know. Yeah. And make it about them. Make it about them. Because when you're making content for them and not about you, you lose that lens of, oh gosh, this isn't good enough. If I'm sending you a video and I'm like, happy birthday, I am so excited you're celebrating like your big whatever birthday. Yeah. I'm probably not going to feel too uncomfortable with that, right? I'm probably going to be like, oh, look at my hair, it was terrible. I'm making this for you.
Yeah. People appreciate it a lot more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we got to get over those limiting beliefs. I call it exposure therapy.
Yep, exactly.
You just have to keep doing it, right? You're better at this podcast than you were in your first one because you kept doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important too to note that most agents are terrified of doing that. So there's an opportunity for you. A lot of people think that other agents are doing this and I can't compete against them, or these agents are spending a lot of money or time and resources. And most agents aren't doing that. They're just as terrified as you are. They're sitting behind their computer terrified. So if you do get out and do it, you're having a big advantage over people. And in my experience with geographic farming, the agents who are doing really well in their farms are the ones who are opening up their life to people, because you're working in that community. You're connecting with people who are just down the street from you, who go to the same school as your kids, who work in the same areas. And when you become more authentic, especially around your geographic area, people will connect with you a lot differently than if you're trying to be this super professional, super well put together person without sharing that. I think a lot of agents spend a lot of time trying to be something they're not. And then when people do connect with them, they maybe not connect with them personally because they're so focused on pretending to be something that they're not, that if you just are authentic, like you said, people are going to like you or they're not going to like you. And if they see you on video, they're going to connect with you, and they're not. And if they do, you've already done half the work. Like you said, on the video, they're watching it when you're not around. And that's huge.
Yeah, people are connecting while they're consuming. And there's a few things that are happening. It's funny because I literally just made a video yesterday, and I'm not going to post it until next week, but the video was talking about one of the questions that I often get or complaints or feedback is, I feel like I'm putting stuff out there, and what is the exact ROI? I'm feeling discouraged. Like, I feel like my engagement's down, my followers are down, all of that, right? And I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, is my opinion on metrics, and metrics don't matter. And that always is a controversial topic. But what I mean by that is there's so many immeasurables that are happening, and the way we're consuming content, especially on TikTok and Instagram, is very different now. It's short, micro video, feed me new every other second. And I may not know you yet because that content is going out to people that you aren't followed by yet.
Right.
I don't know about you, Ryan, but for me, I don't jump into a conversation with somebody that I don't know yet, that I'm not following. I like to kind of get to know them a little bit. And so I might like something, but I'm not sending like a whole big paragraph, like DM to people. In fact, like I feel, for me, my personality, I feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to be like, you don't know me yet. So we're consuming differently, which is impacting all of that. And, you got to love the lurkers. You got to love the lurkers because they are watching. And I say that with love because they are watching. I have met people at conferences and they're like, oh my gosh, I've watched you for 3 years. And I'm like, I literally have no idea who you are. You've never said anything. So connecting and consuming. And in real estate, remember, we are not selling a house to the same person every week. Right. Okay. So you have that long relationship building that you're going to be doing. Yes, they can send you referrals. Of course, that's why you continue to make the content so that you are top of mind. But how are you connecting on another level other than the house when you just helped someone buy their dream home and they closed on it and they just moved in and they are happy as can be? And I don't care about all of your new listings coming on. Exactly. I don't care because you know what? You helped me get my house and I'm happy. So I think a lot of people also too are nervous about personal versus private. Right. There is a massive difference between personal versus private, right? And so again, let's talk about digital versus physical. When you just said, people are afraid to kind of, be themselves and talk about, what they like to do outside of real estate. Imagine if you were at Target and you happen to run into a friend and they're like, oh my gosh, Ryan, it's so great to see you. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. How's everything going? And all of a sudden you just stared and you just said market stats. There's 320 on inventory. Yeah. That would be odd, right? Yeah. We think we don't know what to say, but we know what to say. We're human. You can have a conversation. And personal is just talking about the weather, talking about sports. This is things that we can all connect with as a human being. Yeah. It doesn't have to be private. You get to determine the boundary of private. If you think something is oversharing, great. Don't share it. If you don't think something is oversharing, awesome. Yep. Share it. So you get to decide what that boundary is. And so a reminder that there is a difference between personal and private. And remember, human is professional. So if you love that word, I'm going to bring it back to say, okay, well, human is professional. And if you haven't in a while, go look at your Instagram feed, go to your profile, scroll down. I was looking at someone's profiles in a coaching session yesterday, and we looked at their profile. I would not have been able to meet this person at Starbucks if I just looked at their top 9 posts. I would have no idea who I was looking for. Yeah. Because they were not in the content. Yeah. And in a world where we're making decisions very quickly, and I know the listeners, I know you're thinking, but this is a relationship business. I get it. It still is. Nothing's going to beat physical. We want to be in physical proximity with people. Here's the thing though. Do you use Amazon Prime? Of course you do. You're looking at star ratings immediately to make a decision between a product that's the same price, etc. Do you look at reviews? Of course you do. So we all want these Amazon and Uber experiences, and we don't even know that we are doing it. Our brain is making quick decisions, trying to determine, are you the person you say you are? Yep. Can I trust you? Can you do the job? I know that seems like a lot for a 1-second glance at your Instagram. But that is what's happening as we are looking at content. And so if you don't have you in it, the person who does has one more data point that's human.
Yeah.
That I can say, oh, okay, well, let me try this person, and granted, there's a whole lot of other things that go into it. That's more of a broad example.
Yeah, that's a great point. And a lot of people struggle with that because, like you said, they're afraid to put themselves out there. So they leave themselves out of it and it just becomes real estate specific. And I find that there's a lot of opportunities for agents to be personal and connect the real estate by being themselves and being, and it ties together. And you can tie in the community. And there's a lot of things you can do to kind of tie all those things and create a more cohesive brand. So I want to ask you then about creating more content, because you mentioned the micro content instead of these long form content. I find that a lot of agents struggle with consistently creating content that's relevant and they struggle with a daily content. So how do you suggest agents come up with or stay consistent with content and creating that micro content?
I think that the first thing to note again is it's a lot of mindset coaching, because once we decide that consistency doesn't mean daily, that's a really big shift. Also, you're not getting ranked against other people. You're getting ranked against your own consistent activity. If you post every single day for a week and then take 3 weeks off and it's all over the place, then it's going to not have a baseline. If you post twice a week and you've done that for 3 years, awesome, it has a baseline. Just because I post 15 times a day, obviously I don't, but I'm exaggerating, giving you an example, doesn't mean that you're going to get punished. Does it mean that I might get more reach and views and follows? Maybe, by the chance that it's maybe getting seen by more people. So that's important to keep in mind. The other piece of it is, I always say, more commenting, less contenting. And that is because if you want to reduce your content stress and train the algorithm and get the most out of something and feel good about it and make someone else feel good, you've got to talk to people. And it's easy to do. And guess what? If I go to Instagram and I go to stories, they're telling me exactly what to talk about. If they just posted about their new dog, awesome. What are you going to talk about? Perfect. You didn't have to talk about the market. You didn't have to talk about any of that. We're just showing up. You're helping them feel seen, and you are connecting. It's a positive, them-focused experience with your brand. It's very easy to do. You don't have to be on camera. You don't have to make a video. You don't have to do edits. You don't have to have hashtags. One other tip I'm going to tell you, because you were talking about farming too, is the only original content on the planet is truly your unique story, perspective, experience, opinion, etc. Me and many other people teach about Instagram. The algorithm is not a secret that we got invited to Instagram and they told us what it was. We are telling you what Instagram has published. Now, we don't know if that's 100% true because we're only going off of what they publish. You could find that information. The reason people hire me is because I'm not just regurgitating that. I'm talking about, and here's what it means for you. So if this is what they said, then this is what you should be doing. And that, my friends, is the only chance that you're going to have to create humanized original content when you are talking about real estate. Because guess what? Every real estate agent has talked about all the real estate topics. Doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it. It means you should, but you need to be in the video. You need to be sharing your perspective, your advice, and your opinion. Any other agent who is in your MLS has exactly the same houses in inventory. Your market stat chart, okay, I can read the chart. I don't need you for that. What I need you for is to tell me, what does the chart mean? In very simple terms, because guess what? I'm not in your world. And I may not know what you mean by inventory or low inventory or payoffs or whatever. So tell it to me like I am 10 years old and give me an analogy that I can relate to. So that is how you make original content. Now, as far as how often, needs to be sustainable. It gets exciting to get out there and do something. You're like, I'm going to post 3 times a week. Okay, maybe, but can you do that for 3 years? I love to use stories because it's fast, it's easy. I'm just talking to friends and it's quick and easy for me. That is a fun way to make content, get better on video, and make more human content. And also, as Gary Vee said, document, don't create. I just document what I'm doing. I don't create ideas to go into my stories. When I'm creating ideas to make into videos, usually those are coming from questions that are coming up in text messages, DMs, thoughts that I'm having, aha moments. And so I would start a running tally on the notes in your phone, or if you like paper, or if you like Excel, whatever your tool du jour is. You've got to get it out of your head somewhere, and then you'll have some of those ideas to start. And I used to be an on the fly when inspiration hit me kind of a person, and I have been forcing myself to batch create content. And let me tell you, I fought it tooth and nail for a long time. But after I forced myself to do it for a few weeks, I'm grateful I did because it has helped me stay consistent. So you can be successful if you're on the fly or if you're batch creating content. I'll never be the person that sits down and creates a month worth of content in one go. It's just not my personality. For those people who can, jealous, wish I could. So yes, you do have to make the time, because it's just like anything else. I got to make the time to cook meals if I want healthier food. I've got to make the time to move my body if I want to feel better. So all of those things that are important and priorities, you have to work into your calendar.
Exactly. And because of time, I want to wrap up quickly, but I want to bring up a point that you brought up that I think a lot of people miss out on, is the other side of it, which is engaging with the other people. A lot of people, when they think of social media, is they think it's just posting about themselves, sharing their story. And it's called social media for a reason. You're socializing with people. And when you engage with them, when you comment on their stuff, when you talk to them, it creates a dialogue. And I always say you should be talking with people, not talking at people. And so many people come with social media as a talking at them, and they just push their message. And I think a lot of agents have a huge opportunity. They could be crushing it with great content, but if you're not engaging, like you said, they're missing out on a huge piece of it because they're not connecting with people on that real personal level. And I think that's a big thing that agents should be focusing on. So I'm glad you brought that up. And so we always wrap up with the best piece of advice. So if you're giving agents a piece of advice that they could use to get started or get unstuck, what advice would you give our listeners?
I would say, based on what you were just talking about, there is kind of this disconnect of what we would do and think about content. We suddenly think about content and what to post, and it becomes, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to speak, right? So let me reframe, because it's helpful when we go back into physical versus digital. One of the things that we do, hopefully, when we are talking to people, whether it's at their home or at a cocktail party or whatever, is we were taught to ask questions and be curious and don't just talk about yourself, right? So the hard part is we want to talk about ourselves, we want to share our stories, and we should. The way that you can combine those together is to ask someone a question. So maybe you are, I don't know, terrified of flying. So instead of maybe just stating that you're terrified of flying, why don't you talk about, hey, is anybody out there afraid of flying? I am. What are your best tips? So asking a question is always a great way to develop connection, bring your own story into a conversation where someone else can be invited in to start that engagement. So I think asking questions and being curious, if you have an idea or if you have a story that you want to share, think about, if I was at someone's house, what would I say? Like, I might just blurt it out, but I might just say, hey, has this ever happened to you? And kind of start in that manner.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's very important, and it gets people engaged, and that's the key to good social media is engagement. Like I said, not just the pushing. So that's huge. So we always wrap up with a best book. So what's one book you'd recommend that's had an impact on your life, or you think would have an impact on our viewers' lives?
Oh, one of my favorite books. It's been a long time since I've had a favorite book, and I read a lot. I literally finished a book yesterday, and I started it yesterday. I read a lot. Wow. My favorite book is called Human-Centered Communication by Steve Paccinelli and Ethan Butte, who created BombBomb.
Yep.
And I am absolutely obsessed. Of course, I'm biased because I am massively a big believer in being human through technology. And this was so good and talked about the reasons why it is critical for you to show up on video and on your social media if you want to have a successful business going forward in 2023.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes so people can check that out. I've never read the book, but I've heard lots of good things about the book. And I know people love Bomb, and the people who use it just rave about it. So that's awesome. So we always wrap up with the way people can connect with you. So how can people find out what you're up to, connect with you, and get more information?
Best thing to do is to connect with me on Instagram. It's my first and last name. And if you go to my bio, there's a link in there. And I have a free Instagram course. I have so many downloads. I love, love, love educating for free and sharing the knowledge. So have at it, go have fun, download all the things, take the course, send me a direct message and let me know you came from the podcast so that I can say hi.
Awesome.
And I am on all the socials by my name, but Instagram is the best place to connect with me.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes so people can check it out. So Chelsea, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you sharing your passion and your experience and your wealth of knowledge. I know our viewers, if they listen to it, put that into action, can see a big difference in their business. So thank you for sharing with our audience. I know they're going to get a lot out of it.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.